Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Davy Wavy, here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 4 of What If Himawari Was Older. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So, we begin. Before the sun had even risen that day, the young and scrappy Himawari Uzumaki was already up and about, where she would usually be training with her aunt, learning the art of the gentle fist. However, this cold morning, she had instead found herself in front of a decently large house. Its wooden frame was new and shiny, as if it had been made and formed not too long ago. The young girl was standing in front of the door, her hand held up as if she were debating whether or not to knock. After some 15 minutes, she had somehow built up the courage and knocked on the door. The knock was not exactly loud. The young Himawari was far too meek to actually make a noticeable noise, so it took her another 23 or so minutes to actually manage a knock that was loud enough. There was some grumbling and complaining from behind the doors. Himawari was red-faced and embarrassed after having woken up her sensei. When the tall man finally opened the door, he found himself face to face with the small ninja. After a second of curious stares between the two, Himawari jumped back with a squeak. She was quick to apologize. Sorry, sensei. I didn't mean to wake you up, but I needed help with something. Konohamaru looked confused and a little annoyed. Could this not have waited until the morning? Himawari waved her hands apologetically, stuttering through her words as she spoke. Well, no. The meeting with the team, and they want me to join the tuning exams. I know you want me to join the exams. So, I've come to bargain. If you teach me the Rasengan, then I'll take the exams. Technically speaking, we already know that there were other reasons Himawari needed to learn the Rasengan so urgently. But we don't have to tell Konohamaru, right? The older ninja's face lit up in excitement. Right before Himawari's eyes, the teacher seemed to grow many years younger. It had almost been a year since Himawari had seen him look even remotely happy, so this was a definite upgrade. He jumped out from behind the door, standing proud with a wide smile. It appeared that not even Himawari being there could stop him from fanboying as he took off into a loud rant with a bright fire in his eyes. I can't believe this! Brother Naruto's kid asking me to teach her this technique! This is the greatest gift. All the way from the 4th Hokage. Don't worry, Naruto. I'll take this seriously. I'll make you proud. Himawari just awkwardly stood off to the side, scratching the back of her neck, as if that made listening to her fanboying sensei any easier. At least he seemed, cooperative? Whatever the case, Konohamaru turned to her and stuck his fist out in excitement. Should I take that as a yes? Said Himawari. Konohamaru seemed to realize the fool he had made himself look like and cleared his throat. Yes. The scene changes, as on the other side of the Hidden Leaf Village, a young girl looked exhausted and disappointed. Her red glasses, which usually covered her face, were precariously hanging off the tip of her nose. She clearly seemed to be in some form of distress, if her dust-covered physique was anything to go by. Her eyes were angrily looking at the floor in an aggressive way. After a while of walking off her anger, it turned into a much softer nonchalance. For Sarada Uchiha, this kind of disappointment was the kind she'd grown used to. She'd spent days trying to meet her father. It was surprisingly uneventful. Sarada was smart and effective. As a matter of fact, the smartest in her class, and not even she could find her father. She checked every nook and cranny that one of the strongest ninjas alive could ever be in. Heck, she'd even gone back to her mother and asked her. Turns out not even the greatest Sasuke fan alive was correct on his whereabouts. There were 2 conclusions Sarada managed to draw from this. The logical one, her father was busy with the Hokage, and that kept him cooped up in ninja business. The emotional response that Sarada had to the situation was much different. Her young mind couldn't help but wonder if her father was avoiding her. Alas, Sarada found she had run out of places to look for her father. Perhaps it would be a little irresponsible to use her status in this way, but the next and last place Sarada would look for her father was the Hokage's office. So off she went. dropping her angry demeanor and hopping across town to the office that would someday be hers. Back with Himawari, we see how she moved elsewhere with her sensei. Standing in training ground number 7, the two stood across from each other. Each one had a red water balloon with yellow clouds on their respective dominant hands. Konohamaru looked down at Himawari and showed her his balloon. The Rasengan is learned in steps. And guess what? None of them are easy. But if you have even half the stubbornness of your father, you'll be fine. The water balloon in Konohamaru's hand sort of vibrated, its structure being acted upon by an outward force. Suddenly, its shape distorted, stretching and folding in on itself as it exploded by the sheer centrifugal force of the technique. Himawari could only watch in what seemed to be a mix of excitement and abstract dread. How was she supposed to do something like that? Pretty cool, right? This is the first step. Use your chakra to spin the water in the ball and make it pop. Think you can do it? Snapping from her stupor, Himawari looked at her water balloon, then nodded. I think so. I hope so. Despite Himawari's words, she still looked confused. She held her balloon in both her hands. Her eyes turned a white color, and the veins on her face widened. After a deep breath, Himawari's chakra flared and went into the balloon. The balloon seemingly started expanding. However, it did so differently. Unlike Konohamaru's, this water balloon flattened and expanded outwards. It started forming an almost disc-like shape. It expanded and flattened even further. The water in the balloon was being spun in a circle in one direction. It created a large amount of friction with the thin plastic-like rubber of the balloon. Almost too much. From the constant friction, a static charge was generated. The spark traveled straight up her arm. Himawari cursed loudly and dropped the balloon, which landed and splattered onto the ground. After a second, she looked up at her teacher. Her look was embarrassed for having accidentally used such indecent language. Konohamaru just looked confused. I don't even know how you did that. Anyway, let's try again. Now on the Hokage's office, Sarada stood in front of the door. She was patiently waiting for it to open. While it wasn't uncommon for ninja to meet with the Hokage, it still made Sarada feel a little bad for wasting the man's time. But she told herself it was necessary. She wanted to get closer to her father, and with the Chunin exams so close, there was nothing she wanted more than her father to give her any kind of help. She taught herself everything that made her an Uchiha, the fireball technique, her shuriken abilities, even how to use genjutsu. Everything that made her an Uchiha she had learned on her own. Whatever the case, the door to the office of the Hokage finally opened. A man in a lab coat walked out. He was tall and hefty, with glasses adorning his shit-eating grin. He seemed somewhat annoyed but still kept it contained within himself. He stopped for a second, looking at Sarada. Oh, I think I recognize you. Uchiha, right? Well, if you ever find yourself lacking something, come to Katasuke, okay? The Ninja Science Division would love to give aid to any up-and-coming ninja. After that weird and awkward introduction, the man, Katasuke, smiled and walked away. Sarada shivered slightly before poking her head into the door. Her first thought was, as expected, her father was not there. She managed to get past that when she saw the face of her hero. The Hokage had a calm face as he talked to his assistant. When he finally noticed Sarada, he waved off Shikamaru and welcomed her into the room. Sarada walked into the room and bowed before the Hokage. Despite her disheartening day, she had a giddy smile as she stood before Naruto. How can I help you, Sarada? Where's your team? Sarada panicked for a second, realizing she hadn't made an excuse, but she figured that out of all people, Naruto would understand her struggles. Sorry, it's only me this time. It's just... I was seeing if my dad was here. The Chunin exams are coming up and I wanted to ask if he would train me. Naruto wasn't exactly the most well-versed person when it came to social tact, but even he could notice the irony of Sarada's experience when compared to Naruto and Sasuke's own backstories. Oh, well, he was here earlier. Sorry you missed him not too long ago. Naruto hated the way Sarada's face fell when he spoke. It reminded him just a bit too much of his own childhood. Even seeing the memories of him laughing with his old man, Hiruzen Sarutobi. Before Sarada would respond, he spoke again. I'm sorry for keeping your father so busy. I understand it sucks. Sarada looked up to him and smiled, trying to wave off his worry, which failed entirely. But Naruto knew not to push it too much. It's fine. I understand. It's nothing. Thank you for your time. I'll look for him somewhere else. Sarada would stand up to leave, her eyes to the floor as she tried to hurry to the door. From his chair, Naruto looked conflicted, staring at his mountains of paperwork, then at the back of the smaller girl which was leaving the room. His heart couldn't handle it. Sarada! Sarada stopped at the door, looking back at the Hokage. You said you needed someone to prepare you for the Chunin exams, right? Thank you all for indulging yourselves in part 4 of this What If. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has got you covered. Our We the Celestials My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, then I'd like to extend you an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being that we only accept members from 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching, and have a great day.